Tariffs were the talking point for Donald Trump during his campaign and his one-size-fits-all solution to every problem that has ever existed in America. But as we know, Donald Trump is a moron, and also that's not the case. He has no understanding of the economy. He has no understanding of really anything having to do with our government, yet the people elected him again. And unfortunately, the theme of the Trump presidency is going to be, "We told you so," because Donald Trump supporters are now finding out that China's not paying the tariffs, Canada's not paying the tariffs, Mexico isn't paying the tariffs, you are. And they're not very happy about it. And one Trump supporter in particular was pretty shocked to hear this information. Good friend of the show, Walter Masterson, who is out on the street interviewing Trump supporters, confronted him about it, and it was a rude awakening that we are going to get into in just a second. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already, and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way, and it really means the world to me. Now, we are going to check out this hilarious and really sad interaction, but afterwards, I want you to stick around because Lawrence O'Donnell had a great segment on tariffs on this very issue that I want us to check out. But first, let's get into this clip.
Who pays the tariffs?
The Chinese government pays the tariff.
No, they don't.
Yes, they do.
How you doing? Hey, I'm an importer and exporter for 20 years. When a product comes into the US, there's something called a tariff sheet.
Okay.
I, as the buyer of that product, follow US law and pay the tariff. I'm an American citizen, an American taxpayer. I pay that tariff to the US government, and that increase in the cost, I then sell to you for a higher price because I've got to cover that tariff.
Then what about,
what do you
say our tariffs are higher when they go overseas as opposed to theirs coming here?
Tariffs are never a zero-sum game. Tariffs are a tool. For example, you might say, you want to sell us your beans.
Yeah.
We are going to give you a low tariff if you buy our corn. But the cost of the tariff is ultimately always borne by the consumer.
Don't you think at the end of the day there may be more competition within the market of the U.S. government?
And you're confusing the question. This is not a question of competition. The point we're discussing is who bears the cost of the tariff.
Okay.
I couldn't tell you if it's good policy for the U.S. government to tax beans and for the Chinese government to tariff corn. But what I can absolutely assure you is that a product that comes into the U.S. is paid for by a U.S. company, and the increased cost of that is borne by all of us. I am an importer and exporter. I do it for a living.
Okay. Then what's the alternative if at one point in our country's history was tariffs that paid for our economy?
Tariffs don't pay for your economy.
But they did. We didn't have income taxes before.
That was before we had municipal infrastructure.
Correct. My understanding is that the tariff is lopsided to benefit other countries as opposed to ours. The suggestion is just to bring it up to make it equal.
That's why you have free trade agreements, right? But it doesn't mean that even within the free trade agreement, they are not tariff. If there's one thing you should take away from this extended conversation is you are always paying the tariff.
You know what? I'm not educated in that. Fair enough.
Yes.
It was a pleasure.
Good.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
I'm glad that at least he can acknowledge that he didn't know what he was talking about before, and now he has learned. Clearly not happy to learn that tariffs are just an effective tax on working class people who are going to bear the brunt of Donald Trump's rage against Justin Trudeau and Claudia Sheinbaum and China. It's just going to tariff everything. And it's sad, but funny, that Donald Trump's biggest promise, a thing that he has not talked about since the campaign trail, in lowering cost, are going to do the opposite with these tariffs. We're going to see costs skyrocket, as they already are, with the price of eggs, soon to be the price of gas, because Donald Trump's tariffs on oil from Canada. It's going to be bad. And Donald Trump is going to try to do a lot to distract from that. We have already seen it with the slew of executive orders that started his presidency, wanting us to focus on Greenland and the Gulf of America rather than his failures. But we have to make sure that that is what we are talking about. And it's what Lawrence O'Donnell did a great job talking about and calling out in this clip right here.
Today from Washington, Donald Trump read a teleprompter speech to the World Economic Forum annual meeting in Davos, Switzerland. And I make the point about the teleprompter because it means that the things that Donald Trump said that are completely untrue were fully premeditated lies. It's one thing to misstate something when you're speaking extemporaneously. We've all done that. But to have staff type a lie into a teleprompter that you can then tell to listeners in Switzerland all of whom know it's a lie, is the kind of unique choice that in the history of the American presidency has been made only by Donald Trump. He also made choices in that teleprompter speech that weren't lies, but were things that no other president would say, like this.
I'll demand that interest rates drop immediately, and likewise, they should be dropping all over the world. Interest rates should follow us.
The Federal Reserve Board sets interest rates in this country. Other countries set interest rates through similarly structured, independent financial arms of their governments. It has never been within the powers of the President of the United States to set interest rates. And because the Federal Reserve was created in 1913 as an independent body, presidents have refrained from telling the Federal Reserve what to do with interest rates, even when they wish they could. But Donald Trump is trying to trample on the independence of the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve Chair, Republican Jerome Powell, who was first appointed by Donald Trump and then reappointed by Joe Biden to another 5-year term, doesn't sound afraid of Donald Trump.
If he asked you to leave, would you go?
No.
Do you think that legally you're not required to leave?
No.
Do you believe the president has the power to fire or demote you, and has the Fed determined the legality of a president demoting at will any of the other governors with leadership positions?
Not permitted under the law.
And so Donald Trump, who likes to flaunt his power, didn't realize that he was flaunting his powerlessness with Jerome Powell today. The lie Donald Trump told to the World Economic Forum today is a lie he has told just about every day of his political career. It's one thing to tell a lie to people who don't know it's a lie, like Trump supporters at a Trump rally. It's another thing, it is indeed pathological, to tell a lie directly to people who all know it's a lie. You're going to recognize this lie when you hear it. You've heard it before. Here's today's version.
If you don't make your product in America, which is your prerogative, then very simply you will have to pay a tariff, differing amounts, but a tariff which will direct hundreds of billions of dollars and even trillions of dollars into our treasury to strengthen our economy and pay down debt.
No, you won't. You won't have to pay a tariff. Everyone at the World Economic Forum knows who pays the tariffs, and they all know it's not them. The only people who pay the Trump tariffs, which do indeed end up in the United States Treasury, are the only people who can contribute to the United States Treasury, the people of the United States of America. If Donald Trump puts a tariff on televisions made in China or South Korea, when they arrive at the port of entry of this country, that tariff is not paid by anyone in China or any foreign country. That tariff will be paid literally at the dock by the person or company in the United States who wants that TV. So basically, the way it works is someone from Best Buy is at the dock at the Port of Los Angeles or wherever the TVs come in whatever container ship they come in on. And when those goods come into this country, when the big shipment of TVs made in Asia arrives for Best Buy, Best Buy's person is right there paying the tariff. In this case, it's say a Trump 50% tariff right at the dock, and that tariff is paid by Best Buy directly to the same person who's been at that dock since the start of this country, a customs agent. A customs agent right there at the dock, collecting the money from the American standing there at the dock, who's paying him that money called a tariff. And that customs agent, in effect, then sends that money to the United States Treasury. And the TV that Best Buy was going to sell for $1,000 now costs $1,500 because Best Buy has to make up the money that it just paid for the 50% tariff at the port of entry. When you buy the TV, you'll never see the tariff built into the price of it. You'll just see the $1,500. But if Donald Trump imposes the kind of tariff he's threatening to impose, you will see the prices of televisions at Best Buy go up by at least 50%. Donald Trump's choice of Treasury Secretary said in his confirmation hearing that he doesn't expect the price of imported televisions to go up 50%. Because he expects the television manufacturers in Asia to cut their prices by 50% so that you'll continue to buy their TVs at the same price. A TV manufacturer might be able to do that for a very short period of time if the tariff were, say, 5% or less. So it could be on a very low tariff for a very short time that a foreign manufacturer would lower the price so that the product that you buy, you wouldn't experience the price increase, but the money paid for that tariff would still be paid by that same person, that same American importer at the dock, which is to say, by Americans. The Americans who imported those TVs would pay those tariffs. No foreign country has ever paid 1 penny of tariffs to the United States in the history of tariffs. A Trump tariff is taking money from Americans in exactly the same way that a tax is taking money from Americans. And Donald Trump doesn't want you to know that his tariffs take money from you. And so it is his most enduring and most repeated lie. Actually, the correct way for Donald Trump to say what he was trying to say today would be, if you don't make your product in America, which is your prerogative, then very simply the American people will have to pay a tariff, differing amounts, but a tariff, which will direct hundreds of billions of dollars and even trillions of dollars into our treasury to strengthen our economy and pay our debt. Of course, he's wildly overestimating how much money you can raise from tariffs, which is why no country in the world tries to rely on tariffs to finance their government. The American people alone pay Trump tariffs. No one else on the planet, no one in China will ever pay a Trump tariff. We patiently await the White House press corps confronting Donald Trump about his perpetual lie about tariffs, something they have never done.
Donald Trump is no genius. Donald Trump will not solve your problems. Donald Trump does not know what he's talking about. He never has, and he never will. And especially on this issue of tariffs. It's all a charade. It's all a game. It's all a show for Donald Trump. He thinks if he can just present himself as the big, strong, machismo, tough guy, then no one will realize that he's failed. But they're going to realize. Because while it is difficult to communicate successes of politicians, we experienced that during the Biden administration, it's tough to get that message across for people who do not pay attention to politics. And in this current media environment, when Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, TikTok, they want to shut off any political information that would be good for Democrats. They don't want that to reach them. Certainly that was the case during the Biden presidency. When you're bumping into high prices, you're going to know. When things are getting more expensive, groceries, gas, rent, people are going to know. And they're going to be unhappy with Donald Trump. And we're going to have to talk about that every single day on the show. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button. You can leave a like on this video. And if you stuck around to the end, you drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.